Coming up, an interview you won't want to miss with the counterculture mom. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is the Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we're talking with Tina Griffin, also known as the counterculture mom, about Hollywood and the impact it's having on children in America. But first, we turn it over to Katie to gauge the relative health of our sick republic.
This week on Healthy Republic, I've never had Aunt Jemima syrup, Uncle Ben's rice, or an Eskimo pie. Now, does that make me a racist or super woke? But I do love Jesus, so I guess that makes me racist. Let's find out more as we discuss the newest batch of racist things canceled this week. At this point, I feel like a loser. I mean, more so than usual. Every day, we're being told that such and such is canceled, and yet, here I am, just waiting for my turn. Woe is me. The latest victim in the cancel culture is Jesus. Anyone who knows the Bible knows that they already tried to cancel him, but he was resurrected. The new Pontius Pilate is Shaun King, the way leftist activist guy whose birth certificate says he's white, but he says he's not. Remember, you can be whatever color you want, but you're a racist one, especially if you have that white privilege. King took to Twitter to say, "Yes, I think the statues of the white European they claim is Jesus should also come down. They are a form of white supremacy. Always have been. In the Bible, when the family of Jesus wanted to hide and blend in, guess where they went? Egypt, not Denmark. Tear them down." Okay? King followed up by saying that white Jesus is a lie and that white people would never have accepted a religion from a brown man. Oh, and we should break all the stained glass windows of those churches, so be on the lookout. You and I know Jesus is accepting of everyone who believes in him, and I'm pretty sure Jesus was accepting of syrup and pancakes, so that too must be canceled.
Aunt Jemima? What she do? Why y'all getting rid of her?
Because racism.
Aunt Jemima pancakes without her syrup is like the spring without the fall. There's only one thing worse in this universe. That's no Aunt Jemimas at all.
Aunt Jemimas without Aunt Jemima syrup?
That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous, little lady. But alas, Aunt Jemima, in 2020, is being fired for the color of her skin. I repeat, Aunt Jemima, fired, skin color. I think I found the racists in the room. The family of one woman who portrayed Aunt Jemima doesn't like the cancellation either. Lillian Richard became Aunt Jemima in 1925 in Hawkins, Texas. Her second cousin, Vera Harris, says Lillian was considered a hero in Hawkins. The state even designated the town the pancake capital of Texas. Harris said Lillian made an honest living out of it for a number of years. She toured around Texas. There wasn't a lot of jobs, especially for black women back in that time. And for that, she must be canceled because we so dumb. Now, I'm a sucker for a good story. So after hearing the history of the various Aunt Jemimas, I went out and got myself some syrup to try. I am officially this days old when having my first taste of that sweet Aunt Jemima syrup. Until this point, it's been nothing but the store brand for me because of my privilege. And just look at me, acting like I've never been there before, because I hadn't. I can't believe it took me this long to enjoy the sweetness. Oh, the shame.
Oh, go girlfriend, I'm your mother.
Still not as shameful as the cancellation of the syrup, along with Uncle Ben's rice, cream of wheat, Eskimo pies, Mrs. Butterworth's. All because of supposed racism. But there's more to be canceled, and it's also in the line of breakfast food. In England, an ex-member of parliament named Fiona Onasana actually attacked Kellogg's for their racism because you know those three little white boys, as she calls them, on Rice Krispies? Yeah, well, that monkey on Cocoa Pops is brown. So, of course, she emailed Kellogg's her concern. First off, Fiona, elves' lives matter too, okay? And secondly, is this what you were working on for 3 months while being jailed last year after being convicted of perverting the course of justice? Fiona is now trying to pervert the meaning of cereal boxes. Progressivism at its finest. Or maybe not its finest, after now even the founder of the Progressive Party back in the United States is not progressive enough. History lesson. Theodore Roosevelt ran on the third-party ticket of the Progressive Party in the 1912 presidential election after losing the nomination. He formed his own party to get on the ballot, but ended up splitting votes, and that's how we got the real racist Woodrow Wilson as president. The Democrat Wilson was for segregation and supported the Ku Klux Klan. But Theodore Roosevelt is the one not woke enough, and he must be removed. The American Museum of Natural History in New York City announced the statue's removal after standing for 80 years. Since the bronze statue featuring Roosevelt on horseback and flanked on both sides by an African man and a Native American man, it must be gone.
The statue has representations that clearly do not represent today's values. The statue clearly, presents a white man as superior to people of color. And that's just not acceptable in this day and age.
It legit is because Roosevelt sits higher up than the other men. He's on a freaking horse because he was known to ride horses. His horse was named Little Texas, and they were part of the Rough Riders in the Spanish-American War. History and stuff. But no! We'd rather call it racism.
Bully! Got you, boy.
Gotcha, boy. Who cares that Roosevelt is synonymous with New York City, and Roosevelt's father was one of the museum's founders? Speak softly and carry a big stick, then be gone. On the note of fathers, it was Father's Day this past weekend, and it would be remiss of me to not address the perpetual tragedies happening in our big cities run by Democrat mayors, such as Mayor Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. Clearly, the Chicagoans are not listening to her face mask. Hashtag stay home is not working. More than 100 people were shot during Father's Day weekend, with 14 people dead. And this leads into the real main issue that the organization of Black Lives Matter should be taking up: fatherless homes. But don't take my word for it.
Makes no sense. You blame the system? Where was his father? It starts in the house. It starts in the home. And well, my father got locked up. Well, where was his father? Yeah.
That was 2017. How about Tyrese in 2012?
There's so many black fathers that are locked up and in prison. That's why we're amongst the lost generation. I think ultimately, if you don't have a father to look up to, then you're gonna probably gravitate towards the most prominent, influential black male in your neighborhood, and they end up being influenced by the Crips, the Bloods, and the thugs that are in their neighborhood because they're looking for someone to look up to.
It's 2020, an election year, meaning Black Lives Matter is calling racism per usual. But fatherless homes is the issue BLM should be taking up instead of the so-called systemic racism, which has led to the cancellation of syrup. But Black Lives Matter truly does just want to see it all burned down, and they fully admitted it 5 years ago.
We actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
Yes, because it's not about racism. It's all about power.
So I don't want your money as much as we want your power. The people, not me.
But you. Over the weekend, the Marxist cravens claimed the first death in Seattle's Chaz Chop, the autonomous zone where protesters actually cursed and yelled at the police for trying to get in to help the victim. The victim was a black teenager named Lorenzo Anderson.
The Seattle Fire Department offered a timeline of events, saying after the first 911 call at 2:19 a.m., they and the Seattle Police Department attempted to enter the area at 2:26 a.m., but were met by protesters, who Seattle Police in their release said were violent. Seattle Police also said they were told CHOP medics transported the first victim to the hospital, where he had died.
Question: does his life matter? Does Lorenzo's life matter? All of this canceling has nothing to do with racial equality. It has nothing to do with healing. It has everything to do with power. Black people are being used as pawns for this, and I can't believe how many people are falling, or rather kneeling for it. Vera Harris, again, the second cousin of Lily and Richard, who is an Aunt Jemima, said it well. I wish we would take a breath and not just get rid of everything, because good or bad, it is our history. Removing that wipes away a part of me, a part of each of us. Our history is our history. It doesn't have to be our future, but erasing it simply means we are bound to repeat it. We know that if we learned our history. Until next time, stay healthy, America.
Very happy to be joined now in studio by Tina Griffin, former actress and pop culture expert. And you have done some, boy, talk about somebody who had an epiphany. You recognized by being inside of it, the corruption of Hollywood. Take a moment and introduce yourself. Tell them a little bit about your experiences in Hollywood and what changed you and where you are now.
Yes, well, I didn't know that God was going to send me to Hollywood to become an FBI agent on his behalf. But I grew up on a farm about 30 minutes north of here, Pulaski, Wisconsin. Gave my parents a heart attack when I told them, guess what? I want to go get positive entertainment out there. And the only way to do that is to actually work on set in Hollywood. My dad thought I was joking. My mom tried to plead with me, please don't do that. And at the age of 20, kind of against their wishes, but with their blessing, I drove the 2,000 miles from UW Green Bay, where I was going for undergrad, not sure what I wanted to do, and then Hollywood movie making. And I loved it. I was out there for a decade, and I saw a lot of trash. And the thing that was ripping my heart out was that a lot of celebrities, really neat people, very talented, just pumping out an opposite message that my generation was listening to, believing would form their worldview as a result and act out as a result. And so a lot of my friends were drinking and driving and sex and drug use back then. Today it's a lot worse, which we can talk about in a minute. So I realized all these lies and said, man, I got to do something about this. So at the age of 24, I entered the Miss America pageant in LA County, came in third place, and that really opened the doors because it created a platform for me to start speaking. And so this month is literally my 18th year doing the Hollywood Exposed show, giving a really good in-depth look at behind the scenes. What is Hollywood promoting? Who's promoting it? What happens to our kids as a result? And what are celebrities really doing? And it's a total hypocrisy.
So you worked both before and in front of the camera, right?
Yes.
And how are your former Hollywood friends and contacts? How do they handle your transition here?
Actually, a lot of my friends were very supportive. They're like, somebody's got to do it. We'll help share your content, but we want to. Some of them were afraid to stick their neck out just because
they wanted to be on the down. That's I think for a lot of people who don't know, we all assume that all Hollywood thinks the same way,
right?
But they don't. So you're saying
don't.
that there are a number of people, even working in the industry, even in front of the camera, who, if they had their way and felt that their careers were secure, they would push back a little bit against the.
Absolutely. Just one case in point, I was about 23, 24. I worked on Little Black Book with Brittany Murphy, the late Brittany Murphy. I loved her. Very talented young girl. She had just wrapped a movie with Marshall Mathers, known as Eminem, the big rapper, that still has an influence 20 years later, of very graphic, violent lyrics for our kids. And she did 8 Mile, and we met on that Little Black Book set, and we talked to the point where the director kept telling us, stop talking, we're trying to shoot a movie. And she told me, Tina, I feel so much pressure that I have to do this in order to get ahead in the industry. Those were her exact words when I asked her, 8 Mile, you're doing drugs in that movie, you're portraying sex. And she felt guilty. She goes, I'm leaving the movie set, going back home, wishing I didn't have to do those scenes. But if I didn't act, I would not have a resume, I would not have a job. And it ripped my heart out. It went from how dare these celebrities do that to our kids to, wow, the pressure put on by the big New World Order elites in Hollywood, forcing in a certain agenda for our kids, because abstinence doesn't sell. Sex sells.
And you just defined in one concise sentence how we got Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, there you go.
That's exactly how we got him, right?
I heard those. I went to Hollywood parties. I was actually at the Playboy Mansion for a party. I stayed outdoors. They had very amazing, food, and it was a huge mansion, but I heard horror stories that I knew were true, so I did not want to step foot in it. But I wanted to go once again to gather info. And it just proved to me that some of the big wig elites that pretty much own the globe, that need the Lord, are not saved, are controlling everything today, for the most part, on the negative, harmful narrative for our kids. And I said 20 years ago, Dr. Duke, I said 20 years ago, first speaking, we are going to see major chaos in a decade or two if we keep allowing our kids to watch violent, sex-saturated entertainment, violent video games of beheadings, cop-killing video games, and look where we are today with riots in the street.
We only have about 50 seconds left in this segment. So
Okay.
tell us about your epiphany. What was the breaking point that pulled you out of this?
My love for exposing the lies of Hollywood became why I was alive. And so Hollywood Exposed meant more to me to go speak to kids about the lies, show them the evidence of these celebrities, which I have hundreds of different videos I've been showing for 2 decades, all over the place, from cruise ships, schools, everywhere, and having them see the dirt for themselves so they actually own their own decisions. They needed to see the truth. So that meant more to me than working on a set that was going against what I believed.
So that hit you pretty hard. Do you miss it at all?
I do miss it, but I know that God's going to line up some really cool, positive movies where I can still use my gifts in acting, just not promoting something that could kill or harm somebody as a result.
Tina, we'll be back with this again after the break.
Yes.
Back with Tina Griffin, and you are in the process of telling us you've broken away from Hollywood for good. You enjoyed your time out there, but you saw the corruption. So tell us, as an eyewitness account, what are the major problems? Who's causing them? What's the dysfunction there? You seem to suggest that it's primarily the moguls less than the actors. Let's talk about that.
Yes. Well, Gates seems to have his hands in everything.
Bill Gates.
Yes, Bill Gates. And also we have George Soros. For decades, I've been studying both of them, actually 27 years. It was when I was 16, I went to church, gave my life to the Lord in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The very next week, an older gentleman gave me a VHS copy. No one tried to figure out how old I am. And on it was Clinton Chronicles. And I watched it, my eyes were open. I'm like, Lord, I'm not going to have a bench warmer Christian lifestyle, and I don't want one. I'm willing to die for the cause. I'm willing to take the bullet. And I still say that today, which, who knows, in today's day and age might be my demise. I hope not. I'm praying for rapture, preparing for the worst. But I will tell you that after I saw that video, God has been opening my eyes for 27 years, putting together this puzzle. Moving to LA, I met people that worked on set with me, Hollywood actors, directors. I would wear an abstinence t-shirt on set, which would pretty much open the door to conversation. Abstinence from drugs, and I'm like, yeah, I don't do drugs, I don't have sex. What, a virgin in Hollywood? That conversation would open to my beliefs in positive education in schools, positive pop culture is what we want for our world. How can you sleep at night if you're promoting something that literally is causing kids to get sexually transmitted infections, depressed, suicidal? We can see that negative entertainment going in our brain is just like eating a bunch of Cheetos and nothing else for our body. It is harmful content which causes kids to think, I'm depressed, suicide's the answer. It's glamorized today in pop culture. So that's the major problem is, it's one thing, like I played some druggies, a drugged up, addicted person in movies in the past, but I would only take those roles if I would die from the overdose or go get help from the overdose, to let people know that, yes, that's reality. But reality, by you glamorizing it and saying it's not a big deal, and yet you're getting paid to act that scenario out, and you're going back to your mansion and protect your kids from your own entertainment. Marshall Mathers sheltered his own kids from listening to his music. We've got tons of celebrities. I was Ray Liotta's personal driver for the Oscars. He didn't allow his kids to watch his entertainment. He told me that. Really awesome guy. But I'm like, at the same time, so many celebrities have told me they want the best for their own kids. Madonna shelters her own kids. This is all on my website, counterculturemom.com. People have to check out that website. Show your kids those articles. Watch the Counterculture Mom show that I also have available on my website, because by seeing the information coming straight from the celebrities that they care for their own kids but could care less for America's kids, that's when teens around the globe for the last 2 decades have told me, you showed me the dirt. You didn't just say, don't watch it, not give me positive options. You showed me the celebrities that are hypocritical, that I currently have on my wall as a poster, going to their concerts and listening to their music, that they actually don't agree with their message. I have had CD breaking parties, smashing parties from front of high schools over the years of them sending me that. People erasing negative content on their iPads and their phones as I'm in a school assembly, because they're realizing this stuff is literally killing my mind, my heart, me physically. And I've set such a low standard for myself because these celebs are basically telling me I can't do anything other than having sex and doing drugs and LGBT agenda, a whole different thing as well. all of it killing our kids, celebrities sheltering their own kids from it. That aha moment in Hollywood was enough for me to say, I can't not show the dirt. I have to play these videos, talk to these kids, and let them know that what I've witnessed firsthand is a complete lie.
Go ahead and show the video, the discs, and how people can access them.
So this is fantastic. Yes, it's great for teens. A lot of parents ask me, how old do they need to be before they can listen to this? It's a 4 CD series called Hollywood Exposed, a behind-the-scenes look at today's pop culture. It just came out about a year and a half, 2 years ago. It has excellent content on there. And at my store on counterculturemom.com, it's half off right now for MP3 download, $20. Mm-hmm. And it's 4 hours of content that you are not going to see on CNN, NBC, ABC, Netflix, because I'm exposing what they're doing. And teens have told me, the info I heard on that changed my life. And parents are blowing up my phone saying, finally, they listened to somebody. Right. Because parents seem helpless they know it's not good, but they don't have the evidence to support their thoughts on that. And I want to also tell you guys, it's a CD series, not DVD, because I don't want to get sued, because all of these images of celebrities are copyrighted. Right. So it makes it really hard exposing the trash when they're going to find anything they do to sue you today, to shut you down, censor you on Facebook. I get censored all the time. People are like, never heard of you. Yeah, it's because I did a video 3 years ago and 5,000 people shared it within minutes. Today, 3.
Right. That happens to us at Freedom Project as well. Tina, we're going to wrap up this part 1 of this interview. And for everybody watching at home, we're going to have the second part down the road a little bit. So look for that in the future. But thank you for joining me today.
Yes, thank you very much.
And now it's time for some real education. The Taking of Christ is a painting by the Italian Baroque master Michelangelo Merisi di Caravaggio. The picture captures the moment that Jesus is portrayed and taken in the Garden of Gethsemane. Originally commissioned by the Roman nobleman Ciriaco Mattai in 1602, the painting was considered lost in the late 18th century and its whereabouts remained unknown for about 200 years. In 1990, Caravaggio's lost masterpiece was recognized in the residence of the Society of Jesus in Ireland. It is now housed in the National Gallery of Ireland in Dublin.
And this is a really great painting. Katie did a good job introducing that. And this painting just disappeared in the 19th century. Nobody knew where it was. And all of a sudden, it just kind of turned up in a Jesuit priest mission house. It was hanging over the fireplace. It had soot damage from the fireplace. It had been there for a long time. Really a remarkable story. There's a great book out, by the way, from Jonathan Harr, Harr, about Caravaggio's lost masterpiece that actually traces the developments that finally brought this great painting back to where it belongs. And so imagine the shock when these Jesuit priests, living a very modest life in this little house, discovered that they had a multi-million-dollar painting hanging over the fireplace. And they did a very Christian thing, actually. They decided that they would keep ownership of the painting, but they would lend it perpetually to the Dublin Museum of Art. So to this day, if you're in Ireland, you can see one of the great Baroque masterpieces, Caravaggio's The Taking of the Christ, that for a long time we thought was lost or destroyed. And I want to give a great big Irish shout out, sláinte, to Mairead McGuinness. Mairead, over in Ireland, we always like to hear from our overseas friends. Ireland's a great country. I just got done watching the Dairy Girls, by the way. The first couple seasons of Dairy Girls. So I enjoyed that very much. Looking forward to the next one. But Mairead, that's a beautiful name. I think it's Margaret. I think it's a version of Margaret in Irish Gaelic. Mairead McGuinness, thank you very much. Let's all have a Guinness to celebrate and go back to the painting. So this is this is one of those shocking paintings that you see why Caravaggio is so unique. He is the master of light and dark. He doesn't paint background scenes. Everything that Caravaggio paints, at least the mature Caravaggio paints, is coming out of the pure darkness. And what a better scene for a painter like Caravaggio. It is the night before Christ is crucified. It is in the Garden of Gethsemane. And in the pitch darkness, you see they have come. Judas has identified Christ with a kiss. You can see Judas kissing Christ on the cheek. And the portrait, the stance, the physical reality of Christ at this moment is heartrending. He leans gently back, right? He resolvedly turns his face for the kiss. The look of sorrow on that face is shocking. The fact that when you look down at the bottom of the picture, you can see Christ's two hands linked together in almost like a Herculean effort to try to stop from resisting what he knows the Lord, his Father, has called him to do. This is the beginning of the suffering of Christ. The person to the immediate left there, the last person on the left-hand side, is probably St. Peter, running away like the coward he was, right? When the soldiers show up, he takes off. And there's something really, really affecting about the dark black armor that the soldiers wear as they come to arrest Christ, and the way that what light there is reflects off those metal shoulder protectors and arm protectors in really shocking ways. And the funny thing about this picture, on top of everything else, is you see on the right-hand side, you see the one soldier, the soldier furthest back, not the one who's taking the Christ, the one behind him who holds a lamp. And actually, it's not the soldier holding the lamp. Where that soldier is, you see the man, the very last person on the right-hand side, in the kind of greenish, you can see the very greenish part of his top, who's straining to look over to see what's happening. It's his hand who holds the light. But the funny thing is that the light in this picture doesn't seem to be coming from that lamp. To a certain degree it is. You can see Judas's face shadowed because the light's behind him, but there also is a tremendous source of light coming directly from the face of Christ, and even up in the differential, the upper left-hand side. So this is very interesting use of light and color and scheme. But notice the person in the upper right-hand corner who's holding that lamp. That is one of Caravaggio's many self-portraits. So the painter who he was remarkable. He didn't draw anything. He's one of the only painters who never drew or cartooned anything. He just took a canvas and started painting. He would oftentimes get his models and pose them, and then in a very dark room, he'd hang a lamp from the ceiling, and he'd watch how the light shaded. You can see that here. Here is the man who hung lights to be able to get this stark black and white contrast, light and dark contrast. Now he's holding his own light. And what I love about that, he has introduced himself into the party that is destroying Christ. He is acknowledging his own guilt as a human being to be there, interested in the light, interested in shining a light on this very intimate moment, the beginning of Christ's suffering. Great painting, and thanks again, Mairead.
All right, as always, you can follow us on Facebook and Parler. And if you have a question for our Friday Q&A, visit freedomproject.com/askduke or send us a message on social media. As a reminder, Freedom Project Academy's live online school is enrolling new students for the upcoming school year. Here's a quick message from FPA's principal, Mr. Harper.
Hi, I'm Dave Harper, principal of Freedom Project Academy. Here at FPA, we have been engaging students in high-quality online instruction through a classical curriculum for 10 years. We use sophisticated interactive software designed for teaching online that is very user-friendly and fosters student participation in our live classes, not like Google Hangouts or Zoom meetings. Our outstanding instructors publish weekly assignment sheets, homework, and assessments in our learning management system that are easily accessible from a student's or parent's computer to any mobile device. We always encourage parents to be involved in their child's education and make everything available for them to see, including class instruction. We hope you'll consider joining us this fall and experience for yourself the phenomenal learning activities and engaging online environment our teachers create for students. For enrollment information, visit fpeusa.org. That's fpeusa.org.
Enrollment ends in 3 weeks, so make sure to request your free information packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com. Now let's wrap things up with our fun fact of the day. The Aunt Jemima pancake mix that they used to boast about being a 4-flour blend of wheat, corn, rye, and rice. And it was quite diverse. But Aunt Jemima
To
must be canceled.
Butterworth or to Jemima? There's no longer a choice available to us, isn't there?
There is not.
Maybe they should put Oprah on it.
Oprah.
I wonder if if her diet program would allow you to swill maple syrup. And that's going to do it for us this week. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay syrupy, my friends.